Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker. Man, we've got a busy show this week. It's a great time of year with the postseason getting underway. But there was a huge milestone last Friday night in football, and I want to start with that. In his 336th game as head coach, all with Boonesboro, Clayton Anders of the Warriors picked up his 200th career win. And after getting doused with water, leading the team prayer, making a speech where he acknowledged that he would be back next year as head coach of the Warriors, shaking about 1,000 hands, he gave me a few minutes for an interview. And my question to him was, what kind of statement does it make that he now has 200 career wins as a head coach?
It says that you've been someplace for a long time and that you've had, a modicum of success. It means that you've had a lot of assistant coaches. I think I lost track. I'm closing in on 100 different coaches that have coached with me on, over all those years. So it's a lot of different coaches that have worked with this program, a lot of different players. And it just, when I took the job, the guys that I admired at that time were guys like Tim Ambrose, who had started the program at Middletown and stayed there and kind of made it his deal, and Denny Price over at Musselman, who was there forever. And, they kind of gave their school an identity. And that was, I didn't know how long I was going to do it, but that's kind of what, in my mind, I wanted to do. I wanted to have, do something where people would know that, hey, you play Boonesboro, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get wing tee football. You're going to get, a high level of execution. And we're going to, your kids are going to be coached up as best we can. And I guess to some extent we've done that.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. To some extent, they have been successful, no doubt about that. Herald Mail insider Bob Parsaliti is with me. Just an incredible career for Coach Clayton Anders. In today's world, 32 seasons at one school to begin with, and a .595 winning percentage, and the 200 career wins.
Well, there's not many guys that have, not many guys nowadays that'll stay that long in one place. And Clayton is, one of those guys that's very loyal. He demands loyalty and he gives loyalty. I mean, his teams are a product of himself because they have the same mentality and the same beliefs that he does.
And about to make their 9th playoff appearance in the last 10 years in the 1A classification and the 12th overall under Coach Anders. And as far as the game, I thought that the two teams were trying to combine for a ceremonial 200 points. The final score 71-42 in favor of Boonesboro. An historic night for the offense of the Warriors, kind of an off night defensively, but Jake Hardy just absolutely lighting it up for Boonesboro. He was the bright light for them. 3 touchdowns on his first 5 runs in that game. Absolutely owned the second quarter, and Boonesboro probably not the way that Coach Anders hoped that game would play out. Hoped that they would play a little better in all phases, but still, as he said afterwards, there were a lot of distractions going on into that game, and to get the win was huge. The 8th of the season now for the Warriors, heading into the rivalry game now against Smithsburg. And it looks like they're pretty much stuck in that 3rd spot, though, in the 1A West playoff standings. Not much is going to change there, even though Allegheny and Fort Hill, who are ahead of them, play each other this week.
Yeah, there's too much of a gap in there. I think the thing that kills Boonesboro in this point is they didn't really get a lot of bonus points, even though they played up in their schedule a lot. The teams that they played against up in the schedule, as far as size goes, hadn't won that many games and didn't help them at all.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you hope you're scheduling the right teams, but you need them to do some things to help themselves that will in turn help you when you beat them, and it didn't exactly play out that way. Meantime, the game you covered on Friday night, Smithsburg and Williamsport, real nice moment before the game with Williamsport team manager Evan McVicker getting to run for a ceremonial touchdown on senior night, but it's kind of the way the defense has played the rest of the night after that. They weren't able to catch him, as they weren't supposed to. But then Smithsburg said, hey, we came out, we did what you wanted before the game, and they felt maybe Williamsport wasn't quite focused at the beginning. They go onside kick, recover it to start, and that kind of got the points just kind of rolling in that game. I mean, the scoreboard was being lit up.
It was that onside kick was one of those moves where it's like, that's not a bad thought right there,
Yeah.
I mean, and you look at Smithsburg, they're more of a kind of a run the ball, own the ball type of team, with the option and all that. And getting the ball first, even though you lost the toss, and then you're going to get it the second half is a great thing. So, I mean, you got to give them credit. They came out, they got that first score. You know, you put Williamsport on their heels a little bit because they have to come back now, even though it's early in the game, and a lot of things just kind of fell for them in here.
Yeah, and Jake Arnone caught a touchdown pass, also threw one out of punt formation for Williamsport. All of a sudden, the Wildcats back in front, but then Smithsburg would come roaring back, had the lead at halftime. Then it was tied at 27. There were 3 ties in the game, tied at 27 going to the fourth quarter. And then Williamsport's offense kind of went away because they gave the ball away in the game more than they were able to take it away from Smithsburg. And Smithsburg in the fourth quarter was just an offensive juggernaut with 23 points. And quarterback Connor McEwen just on all night in terms of reading the defense for Williamsport. He's our Buffalo Wild Wings Player of the Week, the sophomore, with 4 touchdowns to go with 251 yards rushing and 2 long ones in that fourth quarter that really salted that game away for the Leopards.
Well, the one that he scored on was, I think it was 59 yards. And I was standing off on the side, downfield behind it a little bit. And he just kind of went around and he saw the hole open and he busted it. I think that offense a little bit kind of frustrated and wore down Williamsport in a way. And then they had some guys get hurt along the way too, and it really took away from them. But I mean, Smithsburg went out there and did what they had to do, and they got a really big win, considering they're 3 in a row. And in the 3 wins, they got almost 150 points after scoring practically nothing in the first 5.
It's a crazy turnaround from 0-5 to 3-5 now, with a chance to be 4-5 and nothing to lose in the rivalry game against Boonesboro coming up. Williamsport, on the other hand, got 3 touchdowns from Kayvon Carter, but as you mentioned, injuries. Jacob Ball, in particular, starting quarterback, going out early in that game for Williamsport. So they go to 4-5 now, and will take on a Clear Spring team that has been battling the attrition all season long as it is, with a record of 2-7. So those 2 match up next week. South Hagerstown in another high-scoring game. 50-41 was the final, by the way, in the Smithsburg-Williamsport game. South beats Jefferson 39-33. And in that one, it's amazing, but South never trailed in that football game, although they had to pull it out late on a Jay Sonone touchdown run.
Well, it was just reading what I in the paper and what I found out about it. It was similar to the game from last year, because last year South was up big and they ended up losing like 48-42. You know, this was similar. I mean, it was a shootout. It was run back and forth. A lot of different characters in this one, because a lot of guys graduated. But when it comes down to it, when South needs it, they know how to hold on to the ball and get the score they need to pull it out.
Yeah, South with a record of 6-3 now, and will take on North Hagerstown, who was shut out. They had a tough task on their hands at Liberty last week, 37-0. I looked at the history of the series between North and South. In the 59 previous meetings, 12 times the team with the lesser record has won. Don't know if that'll happen on Friday night, just kind of throwing it out there.
South has some real added incentive here because they have a shot at getting the playoffs yet.
Yes, they do. If Linganore should lose to Urbana and South should beat North, South has a great chance of getting in.
And the Oakdale and Tuscarora game plays into this a little bit too.
Yeah, so there are some scenarios out there, but South has to win first. St. James defeated Sidwell Friends on Saturday, 49-13. It was the coming out party for Omar Hobway on the football field.
He said it was like a basketball game for him because it was a 2-man game. He was getting passes from point guard or quarterback Cole Manus, and he was getting off screens, getting open, and just weaving through, going to score.
It doesn't get much more efficient than 5 catches, 4 for touchdowns, and 104 yards. And who would have thought that Manus would put up the numbers he's put up at quarterback? I mean, think about Tyler Raymond going out. Thought that the season was probably lost for St. James, and they didn't have Jalen Anderson in this game, and yet they still score 49 and win by 36. And one other team from Washington County in action over the weekend, Hancock falls at Friends in Baltimore 30-6. So Hancock will face Berkeley Springs in a battle of 2 teams looking for win number 3 to close out the season coming up this week. So we'll wrap up the regular season next week, and we know Boonesboro's in the playoffs. Good luck to South Hagerstown, hopefully getting there too. We shall find out. Bob, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
I'll be back right after this. I've got a couple of cross-country runners here when you return.
Champions are not merely born, they're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny. to shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
At Hagerstown Ford, we charge less, period. We're the largest Ford store in the tri-state area. #1 for only one reason. We charge less, period. Hagerstown Ford delivers. We'll bring your new ride to you and do the whole deal sitting at your kitchen table. Easy peasy. Get more for your trade, easy on-the-spot financing, and the lowest prices on the East Coast guaranteed. And if we can't beat their deal, we'll buy that car for you. Hagerstown Ford, we charge less, period.
Welcome back to the show. We continue now with cross country, and a couple of individual champions from the county championships join me now. Will Merritt from Smithsburg, Cameron Harper from Boonesboro. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Cameron, let me start with you at the county championships. Did that race set up the way that you thought it was, or the way that you sort of strategized for it to set up for you?
Yeah, I think it did. I had planned to go out harder this race, something my coach has been instilling upon me since the beginning. But yeah, I think the race went the way I wanted it to.
And a 25-second margin of victory. Did you ever envision that you would win it by such a wide margin?
No, I always expect my races to be close, and it's definitely good having that big of a gap, but I always expect anything.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that win. Obviously, big feather in the cap with some big races to come. And Will, you're certainly no stranger to winning big races. And I think when people look at what you did on that Boonesboro course that day, becoming the first county runner to ever go sub-15 on a certified 3-mile cross-country course, how does that resonate with you? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's really special to me. There's been a lot of great runners in this county, dating back 70s, 80s, you know, Terry Baker, Jeff Scuffins, Evan Hardy, and David Wilson, all those names come to mind. Yeah, so it's great to be considered up with them. Definitely time-wise, just on paper to be considered the best, it's surreal right now. So
yeah, it has to be humbling in a big way, as you said, and pretty good historian there in terms of knowing the runners who have come before you. 14:56.1, and your margin of victory, almost 1 minute and 28 seconds. So the question is from many, especially in the running community, how do you run that fast with nobody really pushing you?
Yeah, I mean, I just try to have courage and just get out as fast as I could and look back a couple times and while making sure I'm not going to fall apart in the middle of the race. But the whole time I just kept thinking about what time I wanted to run and pass those legends time-wise. And I was able to do it, I guess, accomplish that.
Just a tremendous performance, no doubt about that. And Cameron, how about this Boonesboro-Smithsburg battle right now? Obviously, the Boonesboro girls getting the best of it there, and it's very competitive. There's no doubt about that, but there also seems to be a lot of respect between the two teams. Can you talk a little bit about that?
There's definitely respect. We know the Smithsburg team is, you know, competing against us, and we're competing against them, and we just want to do the best. And if that helps push Smithsburg helps push us as well. So it's really good having them with us as well.
And what was the element of pride being able to dethrone them as two-time county champions on your home course?
It was a lot of pride being able to do that, but hopefully we can do it again next year too.
Yeah, well, obviously, always looking forward. That's the way our runners operate. There's no question about that. And Will, you're the reigning and defending region and state champion, and it seems like you have earned a lot of respect too, because when you're out there running, it doesn't matter what the allegiance might be of people who are watching the race. Many of them are cheering you on. What does that feel like?
I mean, it's great to have support from everybody. It's definitely, I try to be nice to everybody, all my competitors out there. I mean, it's running, you can only, I guess, focus on yourself, even though it's a team sport in the end. So yeah.
And you've won 9 of 10 races this season, 13 of the last 14 dating back to last year. So the question is, you know, it takes a lot of hard work, but how much fun are you having?
Oh yeah, it's definitely enjoyable to be winning, but just being with my team's also another enjoyable part of it. I mean, I'm seeing everybody on my team and other teams continue to progress, it's great as the county and statewide basis. The whole state is actually improving in terms of everybody's time, so it's cool to see.
And Cameron, the region championships are coming up on Thursday at Clear Spring, a course that you're familiar with. You ran the first race of the season there this year. So how much does that help you after a third place finish to start the year, now having 8 races under your belt and knowing what that course is all about?
It's definitely a huge help, knowing where I can push myself and where I can, you know, not necessarily go slower, but, you know, not completely obliterate my legs running super fast or anything like that. But it's definitely a big help being able to go back to the same course.
And what's your goal going in? I mean, you were 8th last year there, so how high are your aspirations?
I would really like to go for first, but we'll see what happens.
And Will, obviously being the defending state champion, that's something that you have on your plate as far as potentially being able to go out and defend that particular title. But how big is that based on the fact that you have another priority coming up down the road too, 2 days after Thanksgiving? How do you kind of balance all of your energy and what you put into races?
Well, obviously I have to make sure I can get the win. Southern Garrett's Declan Horner's definitely a strong runner, so I have to be careful of obviously not trying to lose against him.
Right.
So just do everything I can to get the win, no matter what that means. If I get in trouble in the middle of the race, I have to just forget about whatever else is coming and just be in the moment and make sure I get that win. 2 days after Thanksgiving, I go up to the Foot Locker Northeast Regional. It's going to be a challenge to come in the top 10, but I'm pretty 50-50 chance that I can make it to the national level, and that'd be amazing, considering not many people in the entire state historically all the time have been able to do that, so it'd mean a lot to me.
You've been able to do things that other people haven't been able to do here so far, so we certainly wish you the best. Cameron, best of luck to you too, and it was great to see both of you. Thanks for being here today.
Thank
Thank you.
I'll be back right after this. I've got the volleyball playoff draw to discuss with one Dan Kaufman in just a moment.
Hamilton Nissan made buying my new Nissan Rogue an easy decision. Every car they sell automatically comes with their Hamilton for Life program. With it, I get free oil changes, free tire rotations, free car washes, and Hamilton's limited lifetime engine guarantee. And this mom didn't pay a dime for that peace of mind. It completely took the worrying out of car buying, and it's keeping my family on schedule, and we have a lot of places to go.
The Hamilton for Life program, getting you where you need to go.
Welcome back to the show, and it's time for volleyball and time to talk volleyball playoffs with Herald Mail insider Dan Kaufman, the assistant sports editor. Dan, let's get right down to business and start with 1A West Section 2, where, no surprise, Smithsburg is the #1 seed.
Not a question. I was talking to an official a couple of weeks ago, mentioning teams that are overachieving and teams that are underachieving. And it's hard to believe Smithsburg is this good already with as young a group as they have, but they've been absolutely sensational, 14-1 this year, and coming off a huge win over Linganore as we head into the playoffs here.
Yeah, you talk about a springboard victory. And they actually, I know it's strange to say, with only one loss all year, they kind of needed it a little bit after the defeat at the hands of North Hagerstown.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that they lost to North as much as it was a poor effort by them from all accounts. And so they definitely need a bounce back, and they beat a #1 seeded team in a higher class in Linganore in 4 sets on Monday night. So they're heading in with a lot of confidence, as they should be. And of course, they're big on their tradition, and they want to win that third straight title in 7th in 8 years.
Yeah, that's very, very impressive. They get Brunswick to start at home, where Smithsburg is 9-0 this season. So that's a great place for them to begin. And then over on the team that possibly awaits them, Clear Spring, Boonesboro, 2 teams that we talked about before the season started. I think Clear Springs kind of lived up to expectations, and Boonesboro's dipped a little below, perhaps.
Boonesboro's serve, receive, and overall backline play has definitely hurt them at times this year. It hurt them in their matchup against Smithsburg. But Boonesboro and Clear Spring is a slobber knocker. I mean, that's gonna be very close. Wouldn't be shocked if that goes 5 sets at all. Those are 2 evenly matched teams. Obviously, Smithsburg has to take the winner of that match seriously, and Smithsburg has to take Fort Hill in a possible region final seriously. So Smithsburg won't overlook anybody. Their mantra is always one match at a time. But certainly Smithsburg goes in as a big favorite.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. Hancock, the other Washington County school, playing over in Section 1, and they will get Southern Garrett, the #5 seed there. In 2A West Section 1, Williamsport, a team that we really touted before the season started based on what we saw last year, and it's been an up and down year for the Wildcats, and now they come into the playoffs winners of 5 of their last 6.
Right, and playing pretty well. I know they lost in 4 sets to Oakdale recently, but certainly they're playing better now at this point of the season than they were at the beginning of the year. And last year when they headed into the playoffs, they peaked kind of in September, early October, and weren't the same team come November. Maybe this year they were going to peak in the playoffs. Now they've got a big obstacle in Middletown, and their star University of Maryland recruit Erica Pritchard, who is just sensational, probably the best offensive player I've seen all year. She was fantastic in a 5-set win against North Hagerstown. And then if they can get past Middletown, sitting there as in the region final is Liberty for them, and that's another rock solid team. So, it won't be easy for Williamsport, but I do think Williamsport has another year that they're capable of reaching, and they're certainly, you can't count them out of winning the region.
In your estimation, what will it take for them to get to that level?
Back row, back row, back row. If they get it to their attackers, I mean, Kiara Lewis, Bryn Lewis, Devin Grossbeck, and they've got blockers that could potentially give Erica Pritchard trouble in that Middletown match. So, but they have to be able to pass. They have to be able to serve, receive. If they take care of that end of the court, they should have every chance.
Yeah, as always, that first pass is so important because they have a couple of setters certainly capable
Right.
of getting the ball to their big hitters. There's no doubt about that. Over in 3A West, Section 2, a North Hagerstown team that I don't know that we gave them as much credit as they've actually gone out and earned here during
Sure.
the course of the season at 10-4 with some big wins along the way.
Yeah.
And then you look at some of the losses, or at least maybe 1 or 2 stick out, and you're like, well, how did that happen? But I think it's the youth of this team.
Yeah, and the Middletown match, because I saw that one, is the one that stands out. That was such a weird match in the sense that North's 2 sets that they won were blowouts. North actually won 23 more points in that match than Middletown, and yet lost in 5 sets, which I have never seen before. But it spoke to the inconsistency that North had in that match. Too many errors at points, just things that are atypical of a North team. But then again, they come back and. It's a strong team. Obviously, they proved that against Smithsburg in such a dominating performance, easily North's best performance of the year. And my goodness, when they get into region play, I mean, they're always right there. Now, again, it's not going to be an easy path. They can't overlook South Hagerstown. Emma Lorenzen's having a great year for South, has really stepped up since the injury to Essence Henderson. And then they're going to have to find a way past Linganore. And then possibly past Damascus in a region final. We know the history between those 2 teams. Those two teams are always going at it. So, no easy path here. But again, if everything clicks for North and they play well, who knows?
Yeah, number 2 seed, as you mentioned, Linganore is the number 1.
Right.
And certainly hoping to exact a little revenge there should they see Linganore again after a loss during the course of the regular season. So playoffs just right around the corner. Getting underway here as this week comes to an end. Dan, thanks so much. We've got it all set up, ready to knock it down from here. When I come back, speaking of the postseason, I'll wrap up golf, and we'll also have some of the first soccer results of the year. That's coming your way when you come back.
Tony's Pizza in Williamsport has had the same simple philosophy since 1985. Start with simple products. Sauce from the best Italian tomatoes. The best cheese and dough made fresh every day. Then mix those with a great atmosphere, and you'll have the best dining experience you can find. Tony's is known for their pasta dishes, subs, pizzas, and specialty items like their Nutella Dots and the famous Crazy Tony. Simply put, they want to give the best food they can give to their customers. So stop in today to Tony's Pizza in Williamsport.
Welcome back to the show. At last week's state golf championships, 6 Washington County golfers took to the College Park course on day 1, but only 1 advanced to play on day 2. Brett Bale emerged as the lone county player to make the cut, and after carding a 77 on Tuesday, the Smithsburg junior followed up with a 74 on Wednesday. Walking away from the University of Maryland with a 2-day total of 151 not only enabled Bale to achieve his goal of a top 10 finish as he tied for 4th overall, it also made him the low scorer among all Class 1A competitors. Bale improved by 4 shots on his scorecard and 19 spots on the leaderboard from a year ago. A day after golf concluded its state tournament, soccer's commenced. Last Thursday, in a 3A West Section 2 girls quarterfinal, the county got off to a rough start when 7th-seeded South Hagerstown was knocked out by 2nd-seeded Linganore 9-0. On Friday, the 4th-seed North Hagerstown enjoyed a much better result advancing to the semis by defeating 5th-seeded Tuscarora 2-0. However, the Hub season thudded to an end at top-seeded Urbana 7-0 on Tuesday. The same day, our other 4 county schools began their respective quests to survive and advance in the mini-county tournament, otherwise known as the 1A West Section 2 semifinals. Number 1 seed Williamsport wasted no time in jumping on top of 4th-seeded Clear Spring, with freshman Elena Palomar getting her playoff feet wet just 31 seconds into the match. 37 minutes later, tied at 1, it was Wildcats' leading regular season goal scorer Taylor Neff who struck to restore a 1-goal advantage Williamsport would take to halftime. It remained 2-1 until the 58th minute when Hannah Moser converted a penalty kick, but the Cats would enjoy that 2-goal margin for all of a minute when Clear Spring sophomore Leah Howard put the pressure right back on the home team, a task senior-laden Williamsport proved to be more than up for by allowing just 1 Blazer shot on goal over the final 21 minutes to prevail 3-2. So while the Wildcats had punched their ticket to the section final for the 2nd year in a row, second-seeded Boonesboro was eyeing a rematch, leading the 3-seed Smithsburg 1-0 and stymieing the Leopards at every turn in the second half of their semifinal match. But things unraveled in very short order for the Warriors. It all started in the 63rd minute when Hannah Stewart's goal was waved off on an offside call that Boonesboro coach Chris Lance asked for an overrule on, but didn't get. 7 minutes later, Cassidy O'Neill was assessed her 2nd yellow card of the second half on this play that meant a red card and her disqualification from the match. And to add insult to injury, when Lance asked for clarification on the call, he subsequently received a red card and was ejected too. So within 7 minutes, the Warriors went from possibly being ahead 2-0 to losing one of their best players and playing 10 versus 11 and without their head coach. And 3 minutes later, the Leopards pounced. Kara Poole's direct free kick in the 73rd minute got Smithsburg on the board and leveled the game at 1. Then in the 76th minute, it was Quinn Beck-Schmieder who found Bailey Grove in front, and the Leopard freshman found the back of the net to complete a 13-minute time span during which the match changed completely. Smithsburg would go on to the 2-1 victory and will go on to Friday's section final at Williamsport. Now for the county boys, last Thursday's 3A West Section 2 quarters were not kind to the Hagerstown teams. 5th-seeded North was ousted at 4th-seeded Linganore 5-1, while 6th-seeded South was eliminated at number 3 Frederick 2-0. On Tuesday, in a 2A West Section 1 semifinal, 2nd-seeded Williamsport's aggressiveness paid dividends early against 3rd-seeded Mountain Ridge. After the Wildcats' Hunter Riley was fouled in the box in the 2nd minute, Ryan Murray slotted home the resulting penalty kick to put Williamsport in front. Then in the 22nd minute, it was Riley's ability to wreak havoc again and his unselfishness that enabled Nathaniel Evo to double the Wildcat advantage. Although Mountain Ridge would cut it to 1 in the second half, Williamsport keeper Billy Wood made some big saves that would preserve a 2-1 Cat win and a trip to top-seeded Middletown to play for the section title on Friday. Tuesday in 1A West Section 2, top-seeded Clear Spring hosted the 4-seed Smithsburg in the semifinal. Almost to the words of Blazers coach Lynn Mills, his team continued the slow starts for which it's become notorious this season, although it wasn't for lack of trying in the first half. As for the Leopards, who came in tied for scoring the fewest goals by a county team this season, the longer they could keep it scoreless, the better. But as for putting the ball in the net, it was more of the same for Smithsburg in that phase, despite creating some chances. Still scoreless early in the second half, it was an innocuous-looking free kick by Evan Ramashati that lit the fuse for Clear Spring after Connor Michael won it in the air. Nick Faith slid in to put it in the net in the 46th minute to break the seal. 3 minutes later, Faith got the ball to Joe Miko, and the senior chested it down, settled it, and booted it home to make it 2-0. Less than a minute after that, Miko chipped the ball back to Cole Breakall, who sent a perfect pass to Jarrett Lozic, who finished for his single-season school record-tying 22nd goal of the year, the 3rd tally for the Blazers in a 4-minute span. Clear Spring would add 2 more, including the record breaker by Lozic in finishing off Smithsburg and a 5-0 victory that sends the Blazers into Thursday's section final opposite 2nd-seeded Boonesboro, a come-from-behind 2-1 winner over Brunswick in the other quarter on Tuesday. Postseason soccer and volleyball results and highlights coming next week here on the show, plus region cross country and Week 10's football. That's all next time. Thanks for watching this time See you then on the inside.